The Marching Roundtable's appearance on tour with the Academy was made possible by Fruhoff Uniforms, found at fruhoff.com.
Hey everybody, this is Tim from the Marching Roundtable, and I am really excited to get to meet this gentleman. Actually, this is the highlight of my trip.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the reason I'm here. One of the reasons I'm here. Well,
okay.
The Academy invited me to come to, interview them on tour. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, Derion Loman is going to be there. And I'm like, okay, wow, like, how is that possible? So then Lindsay and I had all these conversations about, and we could talk about that. But you're like celebrity dance guru performer guy.
Ish.
Yeah,
I mean,
come on, everybody. So how do people know you the most? From the World of Dance stuff, or the America's Got Talent stuff, or like, where do they know you?
Definitely World of Dance, because that I was just a part of a duo, so it was just me and my partner Madison.
So you stood out more. Mm-hmm. Congratulations on that! Like,
thank you.
Wow,
it was really crazy.
It was so exciting. Well, I mean, it was just exciting. You guys did so well, and did your life change after that by even more? Because I mean, you were already sort of a celebrity, wouldn't you say?
I mean, it was a lot. Once the show took off and started airing, because we filmed it about 6 months before they released it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So it was this weird distance where like you almost forgot it happened. So then as you're watching the episodes progress, you're like, oh yeah, that is...
Is that the way that works?
Yeah.
You kind of forgot how it went?
Yeah. And so then you remember all these little things, and it's really great to relive it. But then suddenly, like, this like really awesome group, Illuminate, they do all the like light suits, and they were on America's Got Talent. They asked us to choreograph something for them. Getting casted for music videos started happening more, and
cool.
It's really neat.
So most people know who you are, but just like, so throw out some names. Who have you worked with? Who have you danced with? Whose videos have you been in?
I recently filmed with Ingrid Michaelson. I just said, worked with Illuminate. I worked with Diavolo on America's Got Talent.
Right,
I was one of those performers.
Very cool.
Which was really fun.
Yeah,
really great experience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, had to be fun.
And then World's Dance, and I think that's like all the big ones I can remember. You know, when someone asks you, you can never remember all the other stuff. You're like, there's more, but I don't know.
Well, Lindsay was throwing out names a minute ago. But, all right, so people may not know that you have a drum corps background.
I do.
Like, I think that's really surprising. But you're here working with the Academy, which is amazing. We were talking about that in a minute. So what's your drum corps background?
Well, that's first off one of those things that I never cut out of my bio. Like,
thank you.
Yeah.
And on behalf of the activity, thank you. So why is that? Why?
Because, like, weirdly, a lot of people don't even know that you write your own bio. Like, when you're reading a program and it's like, Derion Loman graduated from, like, whatever, you write that yourself, and you're talking about yourself, which is
so you get to decide what to include.
Mm-hmm.
So why include the drum corps?
Because I think it's something that isn't as well known as it should be, because people come out here and they don't realize that people are paying to do this. They're like spending their whole summer committing to being a part of a team and a group, and that it's just an amazing life-changing experience. And I did it when I was 17, and I feel like it shaped me and taught me how to be so much more of an adult and be independent, moving on, going into college and stuff like that.
Wow. So you credit drum corps with helping you learn some of those lessons that have paid off for you. So tell us what you did in drum corps.
I was a part of the color guard of the Blue Devils, the A Corps, in 2009 for the show Constantly Risking Absurdity. I was on the rifle line.
What a great show. Wow. Mm-hmm. So you had, do people know you have color guard skills? Do you ever use them in your dancing?
I do. I find random places to like throw them in there. Like,
give me an example.
One of the dances we did for World of Dance, it was actually our very last round. We like had these canes, and we set up this joke with me and Maddie where I taught her how to do like one little like palm roll with it, and she like pretends to do it like really poorly, and then I look at her and I like, okay. And then I do this whole little like spin sequence and catch mine without looking at it. I'm all, and
all the color people are like,
yeah, for sure. It's a really fun thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just did a webinar with Latrice Royale about how she uses color guard in her shows, and I think it's cool too. There's like a whole nother world of performance where she brings color guard, and people are like, "What is this?" And I've never seen it, and so it's so it's cool that you include some of that in what you're doing too.
Yeah, and even Diavolo does education and outreach. I just did a program with a high school here in LA, Grover Cleveland, and we basically took our rehearsal director for Diavolo, Amy, and they were like, you have color guard experience, and we got a grant to work with the color guard. She's like,
wow.
I don't know color guard vocabulary or what they do and don't know. So they invited me on to be like an artistic coordinator with her for like a piece.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
really cool.
Cool. So how does you've already mentioned a little bit the learning the discipline and stuff of being on the team. So how does all of your color guard and marching experience pay off now in your dance career?
I think one of the biggest things is the ability to have spatial awareness and see the overall picture of something.
Oh, that's interesting. That makes perfect sense, but that's such a great answer.
Because you're always navigating like, and having to be able to judge like how far your equipment is from somebody else or anything like that, or even just tossing. This sounds ridiculous, but in Diavolo, like we launch girls from really far away and you catch them. So I literally felt like my ability to track where someone would land, it was just like sped up so much more by having that ability and knowledge from color guard.
Wow.
They were like, you learned to catch really fast. I was like,
I already know how to catch things.
It's just
I'm
catching a
great at
rifle, catching
things.
a girl, whatever.
A little bit more on the line, I think, with the girl in the air. But, I don't know. Maybe if you're at DCI finals, maybe not. Like there's a lot on the line there too. So I would also think like learning drill and performing with others around you, that spatial awareness, I would assume, there's so much when you're dancing and you're setting up different groups and who's near me and like that, I can see that would really help you.
Yeah, even just like knowing that, like, how when you're performing, you have those little times where you're like, oh, I see you and I always wink at you right here. Those are helpful when you're learning a new dance piece that's already set and other people know it. I can be like, I see Tim here every single time. So then when I get there and I don't see you, I know like to be alert because either something happened with you or I'm in the wrong spot, at the wrong time.
Makes perfect sense. So you still stay in touch with Scott Chandler?
I actually just reached out to Scott and TJ.
Really?
Because I want to be able to go back and work with the Blue Devils too. Since I
all right, Scott, you heard it here, man. No, I mean he's just so super talented, and
absolutely,
that's super exciting that's part of your background. So that makes it less shocking that you're here with the Academy. I mean, because I just thought, okay, here's this really big celebrity in the world of dance. How did Lindsay possibly finagle him in? So that's very cool. So what are you doing with the Academy? Like, what's your role here? How did they get you involved?
Well, I do want to touch on Lindsay actually reaching out to me because
Please talk about that.
The really cool thing was she straight up just sent me a Facebook message. She was just like, hey, I saw some of your stuff. I saw that you used to do color guard. Would you be interested in coming out and working with me?
See, that is so gutsy. You know what I mean? Like, I think so many of us would be intimidated to reach out to somebody really, really famous or celebrity-ish.
Yeah.
So she just sent you a note.
Yeah.
So what did you think when you heard from her?
I was like, absolutely, because one of the
you weren't like, who is this crazy woman contacting me? No.
Not even a little bit, because I feel like in color guard and like this world that we live in, we're so isolated, and I think we need to press the envelope on people who are moving the activity forward, because you're starting to get to the point where you can see a lot of the same things, and the artistry of it is going to die if we don't continue to push what's happening with it. We can't just keep repeating the things that have already been successful. So
that's really smart.
With going out and having done the things I've done and working with the groups that I have worked with, I feel like coming back to the sport and being able to be like, hey, you guys, there's a lot of stuff open to us if we just kind of broaden our horizons a little bit and see what else we can pull from. And so I wanted to take some of that knowledge and bring it back to the activity.
Man, I love that. That's fantastic. That's like so cool. And you're absolutely right. There was a really interesting discussion going on Facebook recently. Shane Gwaltney, who's a percussion guy, super successful and talented. He was talking about that very thing. He's sort of like, we're in the age of because all the groups are performing at such a high level. It's sort of like, well, what else can you bring? So the Academy is bringing you.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with them? Like you mentioned it to me out there, but explain like what your role is, like how you're helping.
So essentially I come in and I'm like watching the overall effect of the show and trying to say, well, if these guys added just a little bit of body here and like we could cross them, or like, I just give sort of my opinion about things and what could increase the effect of stuff that already exists. I also help, since I have the color guard knowledge, help choreograph some of that stuff. I get to bring in some movement skills, or if there's a new prop, like we were working with these like half hoops, and so I got to help choreograph a whole duet section that's weight sharing and all of these things with the hoops.
So you do, I mean, clearly, because of your great work with Madison, you have this partner expertise. So how are you, I know that you're doing some of that here. How are you working with the Corps on that sort of partnering part?
Well, a lot of the times in this activity, we kind of are shown something and just told to do it. And that's a really slow way of learning for a lot of people sometimes. They're just trying whatever and they're just making it happen by any means necessary. But I feel like if you can come in and give them the knowledge and base and structure for the things that they're doing, you can then progress and work off of that for the next time you see these people. Because ultimately for a group, you want to continue and push your members to grow and grow and grow.
All right. So you're talking about explain what you mean by that. Like if you're teaching them to do something, are you teaching them the actual correct dance way to do it, the correct mechanics? So what do you mean by that exactly?
Let's take doing lifts or sharing weight.
Okay.
A lot of people will just throw themselves on top of another person and they're like, okay, I got here in the ending image you asked me to get here in. But instead I teach them, okay, no, you want to know that you step your foot here. Where do you connect your body to their body so that you can replicate this successfully every time? Because there is a technique behind it. So I help them find little things to grasp onto that increase their knowledge base of okay, now I understand that if they ask me to partner with someone, I need to find where my connection point is. Okay. I need to find where my partner's weight needs to be, and I need to find where my weight needs to be. So they have a checklist they can sort of go through to become more successful at these things we're asking them to do.
That's just correct dance technique or philosophy? What would you call it? Why are we all teaching that way?
That's the question.
Because we don't have the knowledge? We don't have Derion there help saying, hey, this is how you do it? Because, I think this is important because people that are watching this are like, okay, I'm trying to teach movement, partnering, whatever, with my group, but they don't know how to break it down like that or how to teach those mechanics.
Right. And one of the amazing things was I got the opportunity to dance with a company called Pilavolus. And they're very heavily based on partnering and organic movements that come in and out of each other. So finding transitions and the ability to share weight with someone is a skill that it's like a muscle. You can develop it to be able to do more extreme things with. So in learning pieces where I had to do that and push myself to learn that knowledge, you then can take that and bring it back. And you do have a little more experience and a little more knowledge on how to teach it to other people because you yourself have done it rather than, because if you just see something and you're like, oh, that's a cool idea, I could probably make that happen. You aren't approaching it with the knowledge of actually how to do it. You're just you're shooting in the dark to see if you can replicate it.
Which is why we see, no offense everybody, but this is why we see so many groups do movement things and it doesn't look right. Mm-hmm. You can tell it's not something about the way it's being performed or the way they're moving looks forced or unnatural or uncomfortable.
And you're like, why is that weird?
Right, and you can tell though.
I think that's a really good way.
I can tell. And I'm not a dance person. I've got some skills, but
you just know when it's not.
But you can tell when it looks awkward, right? So you're sort of going back, breaking it down and saying, here's where we connect, here's where we transfer weight. You're backing off to get the mechanics of it in place so that everybody understands how they work.
Exactly.
Can I do that if I'm creating something or teaching something, even if I don't have the level of experience you have? How would I take that advice and put it to work if I'm trying to create or teach something?
I would say it's similar to asking if I'm going to do this to my car, could I just YouTube a video on how to do it? Or should I go to someone who's studied this and worked on it for years and years and years? You probably could, but you're still taking a gamble on it. Whereas if you take someone who's worked on it and has this knowledge base, you're for sure going to be a lot more successful at it.
And there are people that are dancers, have dance backgrounds, have whatever, that can help me. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely.
So if we can't get this guy at our rehearsals, there are dance people, then you can say, show me how to teach this, or come in and work with my group and help them learn to do this.
And you just have to do your homework. If you know you want partnering work, or you want someone who can teach your group acrobatics or something, do your homework on the people you're trying to bring in. You can't just say, okay, well, so-and-so's a dancer, I'm just going to bring them in to help me with this. Because
is this something they know or are good at?
Exactly.
So what do you teach? Like you mentioned a little bit. So like what's going to be in the Academy show that I can watch and go, oh, that looks like something Derion might have taught them. Like you mentioned partnering stuff. Like tell me what kind of things we're talking about.
Let's see. What do I do in this show that
Putting you on the spot.
I know.
Yeah,
same thing. You can like.
But I mean, I just saw you working with them on some things. But
yeah, like right now, like one of the parts, the core like one of them arches over another person, and it's just about like, where do you place your hips and everything for this to be successful? Boom, they go there, and then we switch around, and one of them grabs hands, and they arch back and lean away from each other. It's making images like that, where these connection moments that are helpful for the show. How do we like incorporate those in a way that becomes successful for them?
So when you were teaching that to them today, were you saying this is where your hip goes, this is where your weight goes?
What I tend to give them is, you need to establish a connection. You need to be you need to be looking your partner in the eye. They need to know that you have them securely. What's the most successful grip for you guys? Where are you going to place your feet? What part of your body are you sending away from your partner? You know, a lot of things where the specificity that we lose when, especially in this sport and activity where you're trying to just get things done, you know, all the time.
But this is the point I think is so valuable that we're making at this conversation is people tend to rush it. Let me just get this thing in, but then it looks crummy or it doesn't sell. So you're saying take the time to teach, figure it out how exactly they should think about it, how they should interact with each other. Take time to build it.
Yeah,
and it pays off.
It's going to make it safe. It's going to make it read better, and it's going to help you be able to push them further later because they have the knowledge base.
All right, that's really valuable. That's really valuable. Like I hope everybody heard that. Rewind and watch that again. that was no, but really, I do think that you can tell when people are doing it right or not. And the other thing you mentioned about it being safe. I think you have to, if you don't break it down, somebody is going to move in a way that's not healthy.
And I get the opportunity to judge, thankfully, for World of Dance. I get to go in, and when they have competitions, I give like a judge's tape like you would get here. And, you know, that's one of the biggest things. When people pull off a skill, you want to reward them for pulling off the skill, but also like in the tape, I definitely am like, I'm questioning the safety of that maneuver. Like maybe go back and figure out what this might have just been a wonky one and you had a weird setup, but really make sure that we see the confidence in you that you know you can land this skill before we put it in an actual performance. You shouldn't be questioning whether or not you're going to pull this off.
Well, and you know, I have a wonderful friend, Lauren Metz, who's a fantastic dance instructor, and she has a great dance academy, but she's often talking about how because of the proliferation of these online dance competitions, which we all love to watch, sometimes young people are doing skills or trying to do skills they're really not ready for. Mm-hmm. So what do you say about that?
I think the presence of dance in social media and like online has done amazing things for the dance and arts community as a whole, because it's a visual medium. So you're able to digest it and see it and get a lot of the things, craft it to see the things that you enjoy, which is amazing. But the thing it does do in a negative way is gives people one idea of what dance or what art is. You know, people see a ballroom number on one of these TV shows, and in the ballroom number, they're doing like 7 pirouettes to an aerial. And you're like, I don't remember Argentine tango having pirouettes and aerials in it. So, you know, it's this challenge of then when people go to see concert dance in the theater, they're like, wait, where are all the backflips and tricks and...
Right, but then the artistry isn't in the tricks. The artistry's in the dancing, but you can lose some of that when it's all about the wow.
Right.
And this is a point I think I want to make as applicable to our activity, is I think sometimes people go for the flash without having the substance. Mm-hmm. And it sort of ends up being all dessert and there's no veggies.
What you need.
And you got to have the veggies to be safe and for there to be real substance to it. Yeah. I don't want to watch a show that's all dessert. Well, like after a while.
Exactly. And that's
too much.
That's the thing about that's how you want to approach your choreography in general. I mean, if we're seeing flags that are all going like this the whole time, you go texture blind to it. You're like, okay, but as soon as they go whap and change it up, all of a sudden your eye refocuses on it and can see it, and you're re-engaged.
Cool.
So you can't just have like moment after moment after moment after moment, or we're kind of just like, all right, it'd be like having a conversation with someone who never stops talking.
Yeah, well, we've all. Well, for me as a musician, it's sort of like when the music is always loud and the band and the choir's always playing double forte the whole time. Eventually, it stops singing loud. Mm-hmm. You have to have some softs and some variety. So, what's on the horizon for you? Like you're having this incredible success. It's very exciting. I can't believe I'm actually sitting here talking to you because you're so famous. I can't believe you're giving me a few minutes of your time.
Not yet. I'm working on it though. I'm going to keep trucking. It's a journey.
No, but what's going on next? Like, where can we see you next? Do you know? What can you tell us what can you tell me without having to kill me? But like anything going on?
Let's see.
What's on the horizon for you?
Madison and I were actually nominated for an Emmy. Well, we're being considered for an Emmy for our choreography on the show.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so fingers crossed that happens. Thank you.
Even just being considered.
Mm-hmm. Which was really, really amazing.
Wow,
so if we get
how
that,
exciting. Yeah.
And then other than that, I'm just trying to continue pressing forward with working with, I ultimately want to be able to choreograph for like award shows and like things like that. I want to be the one where like you watch the MTV Music Awards or like the Oscars and like you're like, oh, that opening number was definitely him,
That was so Derion.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's really exciting to talk to you, and I think it's cool. People don't often know that these great people having so much success often have like marching backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're bringing that. Thank you for including that in your bio.
Oh, it's also the most amazing thing though, because at the end of like every performance I did in terms of like concert dance, there was always one person who like stuck around in the lobby and was like, "Are you the one who did Blue Devils?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." They're like, "I marched, blah blah." There was every time there was one person, and
That's cool.
And I just felt like if there was the one person that I could do that for in each one and show them that like you can take this knowledge you have and use it for other things, I was like, cool, that's a part of the mission.
Well, and I love that you've explained how that has been applicable to help you now and your. Well, I'm going to hang on to this video because when you're even more and more famous, I can say I actually had some time to talk to you. So, thank you also for giving your time and expertise to the Academy. I think it's really exciting what they have going on here. Anything else you want to say about the Corps and what they're doing?
Oh, they're an incredible group. Like all the members have a great mentality, energy, attention, and like in terms of the staff, everyone is super supportive, really creative, and respectable and respectful. Yeah. So it's all the things that you would want in someone you're working with.
Yeah, it's a great experience for these young people. And the fact that they get to have you, somebody of your caliber working with them is super exciting. So thank you again for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. It's been great talking to you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Find other interviews and videos from top DCI designers, instructors, and marchers, behind-the-scenes videos, interviews, and podcasts from winter camps, spring training, traveling during the season, and performances, all at marchingartseducation.com/DCI-2019. The Marching Roundtable is proud to be an official media partner of Drum Corps International.